Hello, everyone. Wishing you all a wonderful day. Today, we're going to dive into a touching and emotional story that will take you on a journey of pain, love, and hope. The story of a woman who was mistreated by her own family and the unexpected twists that changed her life. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you won't miss any of our upcoming content. A soft morning breeze whispered through the garden, gently rustling the leaves. The first rays of sunlight streamed through the windows, casting golden light over the small house where Day was working tirelessly. The rhythmic sound of a shovel pushing through sand mixed with the sweet laughter of little Maya, who was joyfully running around. "Are you building a new house for Maya, Uncle Day?" she asked innocently. He looked up, his forehead glistening with sweat, but his eyes sparkled with warmth. A smile slowly spread across his face. "I'm building a new path," he replied gently, "so that one day you and Vivi can play safely together." The weight of the sand buckets and the roughness of the rocks didn't slow him down. Every movement, though clothed in a worn-out faded shirt, spoke of silent love, of a man who had already endured so much, now pouring every ounce of energy into creating happiness for the ones he loved. At the other corner of the garden, Huyen was busy too. She bent down to pick up golden ears of corn, then carried them into the kitchen to prepare breakfast. She looked up and saw Day working under the scorching sun. Her heart beat a little faster, a strange flutter of worry building up inside. With a glass of cool water in her hand, Huyen walked closer, crouched down beside him, and softly whispered, "It's so hot today. Please take care of yourself, okay?" Dee turned to her, gave a warm smile, and replied, "Don't worry, I'm good. I can handle this much." She giggled and playfully tapped his shoulder. "Well, take care of yourself anyway, so I can rest easy." Their eyes met. In that quiet moment, the heat, the exhaustion, it all faded away. What remained was a gentle silence, filled with warmth and peace, the kind you want to hold on to forever. Back in the kitchen, gentle plumes of smoke rose from the stove and curled over the old Texas-style roof. The sweet aroma of cooked corn drifted through every corner of the little home, blending with the rustling of leaves and the breeze outside. Huyen sat by the stove, stirring the pot with careful, steady hands. The sizzle of boiling water echoed softly, like a quiet reminder that life never gives us too much time to rest. Then came the creak of the wooden door. Footsteps, familiar ones, tapped across the porch. Dee paused at the door, smiled, and mumbled something to himself before heading out to get more supplies. The door shut behind him, leaving the porch bathed in sunlight and the room filled with a quiet emptiness. A light wind blew past the doorstep, bringing the scent of dry earth. Huyen looked up, her eyes drawn to the withered cornfield. The sugarcane stalks stood dry and pale, like reflections of her own silence, of a past filled with resistance and pain. It was time to tear out those roots, time to plant something new, not just for herself, but for Maya. The sharp sound of a machete slicing through the air rang out. Each swing cut through the dry stalks, the crashing sound echoing across the yard. The wind carried the remnants of fallen sugarcane, mixing with Huyen's steady breath. Sweat glistened on her forehead, but in her eyes, there was something new. Strength, hope, and then a voice. A loud, unfamiliar voice echoed from the gate. Day was back. Huyen froze. Her machete stopped midair, and she turned toward the entrance. a woman slowly approached. She looked to be about Day's age, stern-faced, with sharp eyes that seemed to scan for hidden truths. Every step she took felt like it carried a strange wind that disturbed the fragile peace of the house. Her questions came quickly, direct, sharp. Who are you? Why are you here? What is your relationship with Diep? Huyen stayed silent. Her throat was dry, tangled with thoughts she couldn't organize fast enough. All she could manage was a short, barely audible response, one that did nothing to calm the storm. Then came the next sentence, the one that struck like lightning in broad daylight. I'm Tuc's wife. He just got out of prison. Huyen's heart stopped. Her breath caught, eyes wide. The woman didn't wait for a reaction. She reached into her coat and pulled out a worn letter, its edges frayed, its handwriting shaky with old pain. This is a letter from Diep. She asked me to give it to him. Huyen's hand trembled as she took it. The cold, rough paper seemed to push her toward a cliff of uncertainty. The woman turned to leave, but not before tossing out one last chilling warning. Diep is dangerous. Be careful. The footsteps faded. Her shadow disappeared into the dust of the road. Silence returned to the backyard, but Huyen's heart was pounding. Unanswered questions raced through her mind. The ex-wife. She's back. But why? What does she want? Can the past really come back like this? She clutched the letter tighter between her fingers. The edges scratched her skin, cold, like the fear slowly spreading inside her. She looked up. Maya was smiling, giggling without a care in the world, completely unaware of the storm looming in the distance. And in that instant, a thought flashed in Huyen's mind. If everything falls apart, if the past comes knocking again, where will I go with my daughter? Tears welled up, but she didn't let them fall. She took a deep breath. A tiny flame of courage lit up in her chest. No, this time, I won't let them break us. I have to be strong. I have to protect Maya. She walked toward the little girl and wrapped her in a tight embrace. Maya laughed, hugging her back with tiny arms. And at that moment, between tears and determination, Huyen smiled. It looked like a peaceful scene, but beneath it, something was shifting. Deep currents of change were stirring, and that old, tattered letter, still clenched in her hand, might just change everything. The door creaked open once more. Familiar footsteps echoed on the wooden porch. Dee had returned. His shoulders were sun-kissed, his shirt damp from the heat outside, but his eyes still held that calm, gentle light. He stepped inside and paused. There she was, Huyen, sitting quietly at the table, her hands trembling slightly as they clutched the old letter. He took a step closer, trying to break the silence with a touch of humor. Still overthinking things? He asked, forcing a playful tone, though concern was obvious in his voice. Huyen looked up at him. Her eyes, usually calm and collected, were now filled with emotion. Slowly, silently, she handed him the letter. Read it, she whispered. It's from your ex-wife. Dee froze for a second. His hand reached out, cautious, as if touching the envelope might open up a part of his past he had tried hard to bury. He took it. The envelope crinkled between his fingers as he opened it carefully. Each word he read pulled him deeper into memories he didn't want to revisit. The pain was still there, raw and real. As he reached the last line, his jaw tensed. He muttered under his breath, voice low and tight with restrained anger. She didn't deserve that. That was cruel. Huyen moved to sit beside him. Gently, she placed her hand on his shoulder. Her touch steadied him. "We'll figure it out," she said softly. "Together." Day looked at her for a long moment. For the first time in a while, he met her eyes. Truly met them. The weight of the past seemed to lift slightly. He reached for her hand and gave it a firm, grounding squeeze. "That's it," he said firmly. "It's over. Between me and her, everything. From now on, you and Maya don't have to be afraid anymore." His words felt like a cool breeze blowing through the heart of Huyen. A smile, small but sincere, formed on her lips. "All I've ever wanted," she said gently, "was for you to be here with us. If we sell this house, we can build a new one, and we'll do it together." Dee sat in thoughtful silence, and for the first time, the past didn't feel so heavy. It didn't control him anymore. It didn't control them. Only the present mattered now. The warmth, the softness of the moment, the hope that still flickered like candlelight in the wind. Then, with a playful smirk, Huyen broke the silence. "I think I burned the corn," she joked. "We'd better eat it before it turns to charcoal." Laughter broke the tension. The sweet smell of steaming corn wafted to the table. Maya clapped her little hands excitedly. It smells so good," she exclaimed. Amid her innocent laughter, the tiny house suddenly felt brighter, warmer, like it had finally become a home. And in that moment, Dee realized he had found it. A place to love, a place to be strong, a place to start again. But even in the middle of that gentle happiness, a question still lingered, silent but stubborn. Was this fragile moment of peace strong enough to withstand what was coming next? Would that letter finally close the door to the past? Or had it just opened a new one filled with chaos? The next morning arrived with unexpected stillness. Huyen stood outside, watching the horizon. Dew clung to the grass. The wind carried a quiet unease. That letter hadn't left her thoughts, not even for a second. And even though Dee had been calm, part of her knew it wasn't truly over. Not yet. The past always leaves fingerprints. This emotional story sheds light on the resilience of a woman who never gave up, even when the world turned its back on her. It's a journey filled with heartbreak, courage, and a silent voice waiting to be heard. Get ready to uncover a story that will leave you deeply moved and inspired.